Winter is here, but that doesn't mean that your gardening journey has to stop. Today, I'm sharing 5 essential winter gardening tips that will help your garden to thrive in the cooler months. Make sure to like and subscribe for more food gardening tips. Tip number 1, protect your plants from frost. If you still have plants growing in your garden, best practice is to cover them. What do you need to cover them with? You could use some old blankets, bed sheets. You could also get frost cloth. They sell them online, and I'll put a link in the bottom so that you could get your own. You could easily just cover them to keep your plants warm. It will give them a couple of degrees above. Even when it lightly snow, your plants will be protected. Water is a little bit more warmer. You want to remove those blankets. But when you see there's signs of frost coming through, then you want to cover them back up. That's how you're going to keep your plants thriving in the cooler months. Tip number 2, mulch your garden beds. Mulching your garden beds are going to keep your garden nice and warm, and also is going to add some nutrients. And another thing that it will do, it will keep weeds away. It's going to suppress the weeds. So once you do that in the colder months, then when comes spring, your garden is going to be ready to work for you. So it's going to add nutrients and also going to suppress the weeds. So it's best to do this tip right now to keep your garden thriving. Tip number 3, focus on your perennials. If you are growing any perennials like herbs, they can survive frost. So you want to focus on using them, and using them meaning you got to prune them when you need it. So make sure you continue to prune it throughout the colder months. Even if you want to kind of protect it, doesn't really need it, you could throw a cover over it by using tip number 1. But yes, focus on your perennials. They could survive the frost, but also prune it as needed. Tip number 4, watering in winter. Yes, plants that are outside in your garden still needs to be watered, even in the colder months. But nature does it for us. So when it snows, when it rains, that's all watering. If you want to keep a close attention to it, you could throw in a water meter to just gauge how much water it's getting. And hopefully your soil is light and fluffy so that any excess water would drain out. Overwatering could be an issue. So when there's excess of rain and snow, and also if you are watering, those plant roots could root rot, especially if there's no escape. So if the soil is too dense and it's not light and airy and there's no drainage holes, especially in your container plants, they could just rot. So you want to make sure that you keep an eye on it, especially your plants that are in container. If you know that it's going to be an issue for you and you have room indoors, I advise you to bring those plants indoors, your container plants. And if you have any plants that you want to save, like your perennials that are in your garden, you could plant them up and bring them indoors and keep an eye on watering them and control of watering them. So one tip that I want to share with you about watering plants, always use your senses. Use your fingers. Touch the soil. When it's dry, that means it needs water. When it's moist, that means you need to water it. So do not put yourself on a schedule, but use your senses to water your plants. Tip number 5, clean and store your tools. This is a perfect time, especially that the weather is colder outside. You want to gather all your tools and clean them, and as well as sharpen some of the tools that need to be sharpened. Once you're done cleaning and sharpening those tools, you want to store them in a nice, clean, dry space so that it will be nice and tidy for you and dry for you. And once winter is has passed and spring has come, you could easily go into that toolbox and remove your nice clean tools to use. So this is the perfect time to continue doing something for your garden within your garden journey in the winter.
Let's recap. Tip one, protect your plants from frost. Tip two, mulch your garden beds. Tip three, focus on your perennials. Tip four, watering in the winter. Tip five, clean and store your tools. All of these will prepare you for your winter gardening essentials.
What is your biggest challenges in winter gardening? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear all your stories.